Hi, I'm Kassy, and this is the Spark Connect, a podcast about what brings us to life: connection, creativity, courage, and the moments that spark real change. I'll be your host, bringing my experience as a speaker, consultant, and lifelong believer in showing up as your full self. In this series, Arts and Facilitation, you'll hear from inspiring voices, facilitators, trainers, speakers, and everyday humans who are also artists, lighting up the world in their own unique, creative ways. This is your space to reflect, reset, and reignite, because the spark is already in you. Let's light it up. I have to confess, I spent this whole conversation with the biggest grin on my face. Why? Because I got to talk with Dan Dumsha. Now, some people hear the word improv, and according to Dan, they instantly want to call in sick. But he makes improv feel like a secret superpower for better communication, stronger connection, and a whole lot more fun at work. From high school drama teacher to actor to consultant, Dan has mastered how to use improv as a tool for real growth. He reveals his favorite tool about 32 minutes in, and trust me, once you hear it, you'll be using it everywhere. He's bringing improv into spaces you wouldn't expect. This is one of the cool things, like creating connection and confidence for people living with Parkinson's on Zoom. Seriously, inspiring. Zoom as a gift, according to Dan. So buckle up, because this episode is all about creating brave spaces. Join me as we learn how Dan does it, one stunning improv strategy at a time. Here we go. Welcome. I am here with Dan Dumsha, and I am so happy to finally meet you. I feel like we were supposed to be connected, and we finally are in this context, so it's just absolutely brilliant. But Dan, without further ado, could you please introduce yourself and tell us about your artistry?
It is great to be here with you. Thanks for having me on the show. So my name is Dan Dumsha. I am the president of Improv for Work and Wellness. We bring improv programs to the workplace as well as to wellness communities. And I got into this through my long and winding path that has always involved teaching. So I was a swimming teacher when I was 17 years old. I've always been involved in drama and acting. And so then I became a drama teacher. I was a high school drama teacher in my first role. And then I hadn't lived in the world yet. So I moved cities from Toronto to Vancouver to pursue acting after 4 years of full-time high school teaching. And as an actor, then I found consulting. So I was doing leadership communication consulting with a firm that hired actors to go in and deliver their courses to help executives. And I was doing that while I was pursuing acting and doing improv at night. And slowly the world started to merge. And then the theater that I was in, I became involved in their improv for business activities. And then I left that theater, started my own shop, and now I've got this company where I've brought the two worlds together around training and improv. So that's me in a nutshell.
You're the exact person I was like dying to meet when I was at university. Like, this is what I wanted to be when I grew up. Exactly. It sounds so cool to me.
I love going back to high school drama classes, to my university. I went to Queens, and I was just back there with the drama faculty talking about the different uses of a drama degree and a teaching degree, because I'm not in the high school anymore, and I'm not exactly in the theater 100% either. But I'm still very connected to those worlds. So it's exciting to tell students, you don't have to fit in this box. You don't have to become a teacher with a Bachelor of Education in a school. You don't have to become an actor or a director or producer with a drama degree. There are these adjacent fields where you can put your talents to work.
Oh gosh, I needed to hear that message way back then, because I came up when you did one or the other. If you were doing teaching, then you were obviously going to be working in the schools doing a teaching job. But if you were going to be doing theater, that was a different path. And, I ended up in corporate learning and development, and I thought, okay, I'll just be an actor in the corporate world by becoming a tech trainer. And then I just kind of spent a lot of time from there pretending that I wasn't interested in acting and performance because people didn't want to hear it. You and I were talking a bit about that. We could have had the whole podcast before the podcast in that moment. But let's talk about that a little bit, where it has been your experience as well. Have you seen it where in business, they sort of want us to be quiet about the techniques that might be too actory, if you will.
Even the word improv will cause people to be sick that day. You know, like they don't come to the training. And when was it again? Because that's when they're going to be sick, because the word improv is in there. So we have had
Listen,
to
I
take.
get a little sick when I hear improv, and I like it, but I'm still sick of. I get sick too. It's scary.
It's scary because you don't know if you're going to be put on the spot or say the wrong thing or get embarrassed, right? Or have to think fast or be funny.
Yeah, I mean, there's all this pressure that we put on ourselves, and all of those things are exactly what improv does do to you. But then it helps you to get through it. Of course, that's the point of it.
Yeah. And you have to give up control, and it's the unknown.
Yeah, and then learning to support each other and set up environments where we can be successful together, right?
They freak people out. Those two things. I'm not gonna have control over what I say or who I'm gonna work with. And then, this whole idea of I might embarrass myself, right? Or someone might get embarrassed. So we take great steps to try and create a brave space for people. So that starts out with a welcome letter to say, you will have agency. You will be allowed to watch and encouraged to watch and not participate in everything. It's all
Mm.
optional. You also aren't getting trained to be funny in this workshop. This is not the objective here. We're using improv as the modality to address communication. So this is not about making you an improviser. This is about taking the tools from improv that are going to make you a better leader, a better salesperson, better colleague.
What do you think it is that makes people think improv equals funny?
Probably having seen Whose Line Is It Anyway? Or having gone to an improv show where maybe they had to give a suggestion or they saw someone dragged on stage who maybe wasn't a willing volunteer. There's a lot of ways that I do improv that would veer from the ways that you'd see improv if you just go out and see it. The way that I grew up in improv was that you would never take someone on stage without their consent. If someone doesn't want to come on stage, you're not going to kind of get the audience to cheer until they come on stage. And if someone raises someone else's hand, they didn't raise their hand. That they didn't choose to. So, people may have experienced that, or they've seen an improv show where it's awkward and the improvisers weren't trained enough in saying no, because we start out training improvisers to say yes to everything. So then all of a sudden, you're drinking swamp water out of a vase in a mansion in this scene, and you're like, my answer to this is no, but I've been trained to say yes, right? Yeah. And so people see these kind of things and they're like, my experience of improv is not one of comfort. It's not one where there's any safety shoots. It's just kind of discomfort. And so I don't want to be a part of that. So, we give a welcome letter. We have a Forbes article that talks about how leaders can use improv to kind of get people thinking about the connection between the improv skills and what they do at work. And then we assure people that it's going to be a brave space. We used to say safe space, but you can't guarantee safety. But what you can offer is bravery. We want you to be brave enough to say, I don't like this. This makes me feel uncomfortable.
I
Or to
love it.
say, let's pause it here. Some feelings are coming up for me. And we go, yeah, let's.
Oh my gosh, the words have so much meaning. And there's something about the word brave that makes me want to lean in and try to live up to it. I love that. And you and I were also talking briefly about how we've needed to change the language that we use in a corporate or in a business setting because let's talk about that. In what ways have you had to change the language and what kind of impact has that had on the way that you currently run your business or voice it, if you will?
So, thinking about an artist who facilitates, you've got all these amazing gifts to offer, right? And you think this could really resonate in the working world, in the way that teams work with each other, in the way that ideas are generated, in the way that this business expresses themselves, right? Through their communication or through their media or whatever. So as an artist, you're thinking, I have something that I could offer, right? And I think what differentiates artists who are very successful and work in business and the ones who never make that connection is that you've got to invest in being the bridge to speak their language. You've got to say, I know that as a team, you brainstorm and you come up with many different options and solutions for a problem, and then you choose one. So, my skill around being able to generate ideas and use a yes and approach that doesn't discourage anyone from giving new ideas, that will improve your ability to brainstorm and to work together as a team and feel like you all belong in that process. So, I need to know what they're doing so that I know how my artistic skills can help them. And I think the disconnect for many artists is I know I have something valuable. Business should want me, but they haven't made that bridge yet to say, well, what do they, how will it help them? What will they need? And so you need a little bit of business acumen and you need a little bit of business language. So when I bring in new improvisers to my company and bring them into a workplace and they watch the training happen, they go, you connect it. You connect it to what they do. You connect it to the emails they're writing and the meetings that they're going to. It's that bridge that I think makes the value apparent and makes you so credible where they say, he had examples from our business.
Right, right. Gosh, it's like a classic know your audience scene that we've set here. How you're going to get people to lean in and understand is to understand the world from their perspective and from their point of view. What challenges do they have? What do they wish the world looked like? And you've got this set of tools in your world, and if you can bridge that and you can start to use that, then I'm seeing in your business, do you have a segment of your business that's like teaching what we're exactly talking about? The business acumen that needs to come in. This is very interesting. I've never thought of it before. I'm probably not even articulating it exactly, but you're making me think, wow, that's another arm of your business, or it could be. How to have that language and how to articulate what your artistry is, but in the corporate setting so people understand it and get how much you actually do bring to the table.
That's more of an informal process in the business where I'm training my bench to go in and represent us at companies. So that's more of the internal function to say, improv, teamwork, and leadership. So let me tell you about how businesses are set up and why they're set up. So, first of all, a business is created to make money, to have some kind of value. Unless they're a crown corporation or a government agency or a charity, you have to look at a business as this is an organization that is created to generate revenue. So then you look at how do they make their money? Who is their customer? What is their product, right? You take a look at that and then you say, how are they organized? There's business units. There are cost centers like legal, HR, IT, and then there's the actual part of the business that is generating revenue. That might be a site or a manufacturing plant, right? Where they're actually making the thing. And then there's the sales and marketing where they're talking about that thing. So if you're coming from an improv acting world, that may be so foreign to you just around that businesses are set up that way. And if someone's not bringing value to the business, it's not like a school where we've got to figure out how to get the best out of that person so they succeed. They're chopped. They're fired.
It's so interesting. And then you think about people who are artists, and I'm thinking primarily of maybe painters and musicians. I think this comes at them a lot. The concept of you're a sellout. And so what you've just described is almost seen as if I know about this, if I'm aware of the business of art, am I then a sellout and do people view me a certain way? It's almost as if it's been seen as a negative if they're aware of that. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah. And I would think that it would be such a small percentage of artists who don't need to concern themselves with the commerce because they're so good at their art that the commerce comes to them and the business people come to them to work it out. I think that's probably like 1 or 2%. I think the other 98% of us have to think about who's buying this.
Well, right. Because there's the whole business of entertainment. There's the whole business side of before you ever took the stage or got behind the camera.
What's really influencing me lately and inspiring me lately are these old videos that John Cleese did. I don't know if you've seen these. They're videos where he's addressing a business audience and talking about the importance of play, laughter, and humor. And it's like one of my favorite comedians from Monty Python there in this function that I do, going and talking to businesses, saying that humor is the fastest way to get someone from a closed state to an open state. And I'm going, oh my gosh, this is so good.
This
This
is
is so
amazing. We're going to have to
cool,
find this for
right?
the show notes and put some of these links in there on YouTube, aren't they? He's the Ministry of Silly Walks, right?
Monty Python, yeah, yeah.
That's so cool. Well, what are you working on right now? I know you do some pretty important work. I'd like to talk about your work and those with people living with Parkinson's.
So
Let's,
yeah.
yeah, tell me more about that.
So the business that I run is made up of these two departments, Improv for Work and Improv for Wellness. And these were the departments that were formed at the co-founded Tightrope Theater. And from there, I spun out this business because these were the departments at Tightrope Theater, Improv for Work and Improv for Wellness. And then when I created this as its own company at the start of 2024, the name was there. It was the departments of Improv for Work and Wellness. So Improv for Work is bringing these skills to the corporate space, and that helps to fund our activities on the Improv for Wellness side, which run just to meet costs. And our goal there is to make costs lowest as possible, if not free, for participants. And these are the folks who have Parkinson's disease, who care for Alzheimer's patients, or who have Alzheimer's or dementia, like my dad has, people who stutter, people who have compromised brain health. So we take these same skills that we're bringing to the workplace around confidence and connection, and we offer them to these communities, like people who have Parkinson's. And we've got a connection to all of these communities. So my husband is a movement disorder neurologist. He specializes in Parkinson's.
Okay, okay.
And
I was going to
so,
ask you how you came about it. It sounds like your father and your husband together. And I'm so interested if there's any specific stories that you'd like to share of some of the experiences that you've had, if you can.
yes. Oh, yeah. And people always say, well, you got to do improv for autism. This would really work for our kids who have autism, autistic kids. And I said, well, do you know any? Because it's like for all of our programs have come from a personal connection to that population. So what happened with Jonathan was we were in New York for him doing his fellowship. And that's why I've got this Manhattan quilt behind me. His sister made this for us when we were living in New York. She never wants to see it again. It's hand stitched, accurate Manhattan quilt. So we were in New York, and his colleague who ran the programming for deep brain stimulation. So in Parkinson's, you can get this procedure called DBS, deep brain stimulation, and it helps to make your medicine more effective, helps to control your symptoms. So she was the person who was titrating all these deep brain stimulators. And so she was working with John a lot, and she said, I want to do improv for this population. I think what Dan is doing, she had come out and seen a couple of my shows, and she said, I think what he's doing would really help our folks to be able to cope with their diagnosis and to be able to have connections and to thrive with Parkinson's. Because Parkinson's is not a death sentence. People die with Parkinson's, not from Parkinson's. So there's a lot of life to live. And you have to rediscover your instrument, because it's changing and you're not able to do what you were able to do. And you've got these symptoms that get in the way that are unpredictable. And so when you talk about unpredictability and being able to be flexible and connect despite challenges, this is the language of improv.
It just sounds like it was meant to be.
And they responded to it. The thing was, it was meant to be, and the population really responded in a welcome way. So the folks with Parkinson's loved the approach. They loved the connections and the confidence that they were getting, and they wanted more. So when I came back to Vancouver in I think 2016 or 2017, I did a workshop for people who have Parkinson's here. And the folks that were in that workshop are now in the Parkinson's performance troupe, and they are the co-teachers of every level 1 that we do of Improv for Parkinson's. We have someone with Parkinson's who does improv to co-teach the course, to say,
Wow.
here's what it did for me. So they've stuck with me. We just actually went to a barbecue this weekend, and John was really reluctant to go because it was 3 of his patients who have become friends. They've become part of our improv troupe. We went to Barcelona with them to perform. And now we've got this thing. He's like, I don't know about going to a barbecue with my patients, and it was like,
Yeah.
they've become more than that. They've become
Wow.
improv troupe members. They're my staff members, and they're our friends.
I want to come work with you. I don't want to do anything that I'm doing anymore. I just want to come work with you. Or maybe you can do both. Speaking of that, my career has been spent a whole lot of it, the majority of it, virtual training and online presenting and helping people connect through screens. And so, are there any elements of what you're doing that get delivered live online like we're doing right now?
since COVID.
Yeah.
So in 2020, the Parkinson Society of British Columbia contacted me and said, have you taught improv online? We think COVID's going to be around for a little while. And my first answer, and I say this in my TEDx talk, my first answer was no, that we don't do it. Doesn't work online. Improv doesn't work. It's an in-person thing. It doesn't really work online. And they had to come back and say, will you please try it?
And so what did you discover? What happened? What did you have to change? Have you done it?
We continue to do it. This is something that we offer now, and it gives us reach, right? And accessibility. We have people from across the country, across the world who join in the improv classes, people who are remote, who wouldn't be able to get to a city center to take an improv class. They're connected because of Zoom virtual classes. So it really showed me that it doesn't have to be in person to have these connections. And there are possibilities within the Zoom connection that you can't do in person. And opposite, there's some things in person that you can't do on Zoom. It's a different way of connecting.
Yeah, when we stop comparing, when
Yeah,
we stop saying no and we stop comparing and trying to recreate, we open up a world of possibility for what can be. Yeah. I'm always helping people look at, well, what are you achieving by doing that? So I work in learning and development. So it's like we're trying to build this skill or have this moment. And this is how we've always done it. And so let's try to recreate it. And I go, well, hold up, hold up. Let's just go to what we're trying to get to. And let's look at what we have available to us that might get us there, maybe in ways we've never done before. And what excitement comes out of that because of what you said regarding reach and accessibility and opportunities for inclusion. I have since seen things when we are in person. I'll be delivering something that I developed to be delivered online, and I'm in person showing you what it's like if only we were online. And then I realized, wow, I can't even do what I'm doing online. Like where it kind of primarily plays out for me is with like I brought cards at one point that had imagery on them, and it's like pick a card, talk to your neighbor, kind of just standard opener. And it occurred to me, what if someone can't see? And online I just know by default to have materials that would have alt text on them, so they would have already been accessible and inclusive by the very moment they were shared. But in person, I just brought the cards and didn't think of it, and I just wanted to slap myself, you know. I got lucky that day that there wasn't that concern, but it occurred to me it's better online in that particular moment. Have you seen, you mentioned it was different for you and you had to change some things. Is there anything that comes to mind for you that's sort of a classic, this is how we do it online versus how we did it in person? And I know I'm asking you without any warning on that one.
Oh, I got tons. Two people can't talk at the same time on Zoom. That's one of the biggest things. Two people cannot talk at the same time. And so many improv games are, okay, we're going to talk at once or we're going to talk at the same time. And you can only talk when someone else is talking. So any of these games with mixed audio became really problematic.
What'd you do as an alternative?
Well, we have the word at a time games. And then we also have games where you can see yourself in a way that you can't in person. So some of these things with Parkinson's, like one of the symptoms of Parkinson's is called masking, where the face becomes less expressive. Everything with Parkinson's gets smaller. Often writing gets smaller, steps get smaller, the voice gets smaller, facial expression gets smaller. And the gift of Zoom is that you see yourself. So we warm up by doing these hilarious emotional reaction games where I'll read out a statement and everyone's got to show facially, non-verbally, their reaction to that statement. So something like, there's coffee here, but it's 3 hours old. Do you want some? Right? And then everyone looks around and we're just laughing. We're just laughing for 2 minutes.
I love it.
No one has said a thing. And what's happening here is they're creating that new neural pathway to say, when I feel this way, I need to make this shape with my face and it needs to be this big. And that actually fights this masking, because with some conscious effort, people with Parkinson's can take bigger steps, they can be louder, they can be more expressive, but they have to make that effort. So the
Okay.
Zoom actually becomes this tool that's superior to in person to address this masking.
You know, I have an activity that is teaching people very similar, but instead of what we're looking at in the facial expression, it is the audio and what we hear. What you think you are sending versus what we interpret and hear. So the activity is I put up 9 different emojis, and I specifically picked emojis because they're cartoons. And I also labeled them evil, happy, sleepy, confused, angry, pouty, personal favorite, goofy. And you have, when it is your turn, you go off of the webcam, and then I give you a sentence. Usually, I go, "What questions do you have?" Say it in one of 9 ways. The rest of us will circle which one it is. So it's very similar to what you just did. I'm like, and now I want to do both. I want to do like the facial expression, and this is audio only, this particular one. And I love having confused and sleepy on the board because a lot of times people get those, they sound the same.
Love it. I love what a great exercise. That's good.
And yeah, I know yours is too. Like you're just giving me the other side of it. Now I'm going to end up wanting to do both of these. I love that.
In our program for people who stutter, called the Unblockables, a lot of times the stutter will get worse when the person feels frustrated that they can hear the stutter or they can't say what they want to say. So we focus on, and this is an overall theme in the work, connection over perfection. And connection is something that happens non-verbally. It's something that happens as subtext. So we'll take an occupation and an emotion and get folks who are on the course to say, okay, what would an angry baker say?
Yeah.
Right? And they're
Yeah.
like, the bread is burning or whatever,
I
right?
love this.
You know, and it sometimes can surprise them at how fluent they are and how the stutter has become less prevalent for them because they've focused on the emotion and the connection.
The
So
connection.
instead of the perfection of around, I don't want to stutter, I don't want to get this, it's like the connection is way more important than the stutter. There's nothing to fix. The other piece is acceptance, right? Like communication. You don't have to be anything other than exactly what you are. Let's work with the tool that you're bringing to the table, not
Yeah.
fixing it, right?
Yeah, I love that. And people connect with all your problems. They don't connect with your perfections. Those are annoying. In the problems and in your struggles, I see an opportunity for me to be okay too. If you're perfect, I'll never be that. And so I'm not gonna listen to that. That's what the audiences can do, right?
And I think we as facilitators have to be brave enough to model that. And I say at the beginning of a course, I believe in the open model of facilitation. The people who are here are the right people. When it starts is when it's supposed to start, and when it ends is when it's supposed to end.
I
You
love
know,
that.
and we're gonna do the work that appears before us today, and hopefully it will match your agenda, but it
Yeah,
might not. But it might.
but it might not. I always try to get like I love that, and I like to get into I'm here in service of this moment.
Mm.
You know, it's like I have some ideas and I have some things. And even you and I were talking about it as we started. I'm like, I'm going to be a podcast host now, Dan. And here's what I have planned.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe we'll
Yeah.
see where the conversation goes. When I
Yeah.
teach the art of facilitation, I talk about facilitators being energy workers. Yeah, and you are
Hmm.
going in and you are detecting the energy of a group, and then you are maintaining and affecting that energy. So, is everyone engaged? Are they leaned in? Are they leaned back? Do they need a story? Do they need some group and partner work right now? You are attuned to the energy and you're moving the energy of the room. You're an energy worker.
Would you say, I love that, energy workers, facilitator slash energy worker. Would you say it's the same for somebody who is a performer in the role of, well, let me say this. How about in the role of keynote speaker versus facilitator slash trainer?
Yes, I think it is a little bit more discreet when you're presenting to a group like an audience hearing a keynote because there you're really the only speaker. So the dialogue and the feeling of energy exchange comes in you're pausing and comes in getting them to think and sounding conversational. And that's where it I think transforms from a speech to inspiring conversation or something that actually moves people. Otherwise they're passive and they're talked. So I would say the best keynote speakers and speech deliverers actually have that same focus on the energy connection between them and the audience.
Yeah, but maybe it plays out in the form of thought instead of say and do.
even if it's recorded.
Right, right.
Even if I'm recording some video message for 3,000 employees to hear, if I've got them in mind and I'm connected to the material that I'm presenting in a way that is, like you said, in service of them, they're going to feel that rather
Yeah.
than just trying to read the words off the teleprompter. Even if I don't move my head, and you see someone's eyes going like that, and you're like,
Looking to another part of the screen. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, like just email it. Just email it. Would have been better.
Would have been better. I know. Oh my gosh. Well, tell me, one of the reasons I've been so excited to bring these interviews out into the world and to the people that are interested in the things that I'm doing is that I'm trying to answer this question about finding the humanity in this AI-driven world. And I'm curious how, if at all, AI and the various tools around us today have impacted the work that you do.
Yeah, I exist in both of these realms because for a company called Ability, I do facilitation that harnesses AI in a big way. We're doing AI conversations with employees that are meant to give you a chance to put a skill into application, like giving feedback. And then the AI will actually analyze the conversation and give you a score and some suggestions on how you could better demonstrate empathy or how you could come up with a solution that involves the employee in a more tangible way. So, in that sense, I'm using AI a lot, and the AI is a tool where people can get that detailed analysis and feedback and then come back to the group and talk about it with a human partner and be led by a human facilitator in the discussion around how they're going to take that experience and then apply it with other people or in their role. So in that realm, I'm really invested and applying AI. And then in my other role around improv and bringing improv to workspaces, it's like the antithesis of that. I had a trainer approach me to say, how could we use AI in your workshops? And I said to him, actually, the differentiator of my workshops is that I don't and won't be using AI in them because it's about improvising with other people and developing that skill to think on your feet and to
Yeah,
become agile in real time with other people.
yeah.
So it's
Not with an AI tool. Like, is there any element of improv that happens with an AI conversation, let's say?
Yeah, not in any improv that I do. I've seen improv shows that are based on interaction with AI or on AI script that has been
Yeah,
generated.
yeah.
And there's always the element to make it improv of real-time creation that you're witnessing in addition to the AI creation. And
Right.
that's where the magic happens. If it was just AI with itself,
It's just dull.
that's not exciting. Yeah.
It's just facts. It's just an account. It's the details, but they don't have feelings
But
and instinct.
if AI is generating a PowerPoint and you are improvising the narration of that
Yeah.
PowerPoint,
Yeah.
that is so exciting.
It's I like
That's an
using this
improv
as
game, by the
tools.
way. It's a fun improv game.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. So what happens? What is that improv game actually? Because I haven't played this yet. I haven't heard of
It's
that.
called Mystery Deck.
Okay.
And you don't know what the deck is. You have to click through and give a compelling presentation.
Okay, I have seen people do that. Like I haven't seen it done with AI yet, but they just give you, yeah, here's your slides and you're up in front of people and you're like, so the quarterly business meeting commences as such, and as you see, we are around the globe or whatever.
Ah.
Oh, I love that. Very, very cool. Very, very interesting stuff. And thinking about how our world is changing and how we can use these things as tools and not let them take over. And then at the same time, have a bit of fun, with it as well. I have a couple more questions for you, just as we're kind of getting towards the close of our time together, which actually I think I just want to hang out with you all the time and come work for you, by the way.
Well, I want to talk about that for a second too. I've organized the companies to be flexible so that artists can do this work and still do their art. So all of my facilitators are freelance
Yeah.
so that they can say yes or no to their hours or to facilitation opportunities. I don't have anyone full time because I really do believe that we all have these artistic pursuits that we're balancing. So that I need to be supportive when one of the people on my bench gets an audition. And I need to be able to have that flexibility to say, great, we'll get someone else to teach it. You'll prep them for it. best of luck with that audition. I hope you get it. As
Yeah.
opposed to, well, you got to say no to that because you said yes to me first, or you
Oh
better
God.
not do that on work time. So there's also a flexibility around accommodating the balance that artists need to strike when they're bringing their art to the business world so that it doesn't feel like I've traded in my artistic tools and I'm just in business now.
Right. You're not trading it in, you're integrating. And that comes from the leadership as well.
And you have to keep your artistic practice.
Yeah, you
If
do. Otherwise,
you're an artist facilitator, what have you done lately in art?
right. Right. That's right. Because otherwise you lose it. Like you'll lose the inspiration of it. I'm not gonna say you lose it. But, oh gosh, I love that. You've already taught us things, and I have this plan to like, can you teach us something? I feel like the whole conversation you've taught us things.
I'll give you my best tool. I'll give you my best
Oh
tool
my
for
gosh, yeah.
free.
Can we have something? We're trainers after all, and trainers
Yeah.
are tuning in and listening. So the context is this. I want to be able to use something cool that Dan has taught me the next time I'm going to do a training or a speech or a presentation. Yeah.
Yeah. It is called repeat, rephrase, relate. And I call this the on-ramping tool. And it is to demonstrate that you've listened. So, especially after a presentation in a Q&A session, people will jump over themselves to answer a question. And I believe the first opportunity in Q&A is to learn something from the question. To say as the presenter, interesting, Kassy asked me that, and that indicates that that is her highest priority. Or there's an area where she's confused, right? So instead of just going, oh yeah, that's going to happen Tuesday, next question, I first have to go, interesting. She is focused on when this is going to roll out. And that shows me that she's already implementing this new change, thinking about the timeline. So to allow myself to clock that new information, I need to show that I've listened to you. And that's where this very simple tool comes in. Before I answer your question, and this happens in brainstorms or conversations, before you give any contribution, repeat, rephrase, or relate what you've just heard.
Do one of the three, not all three.
One of the three.
Whatever's going to make sense within the context.
So you say, when is this going to roll out? So if to repeat, I would say, okay, so when's it going to roll out? And you go, yeah, right? And it doesn't seem like much has happened, but I've shown that I've listened to you. And this is a magic trick. You can start to use this at home. You can use this with colleagues, with bosses. I try to use this every time I speak because it also puts my brain into the listening mode until you are finished speaking.
Repeat, rephrase,
Relate. So
relate.
the rephrase might be, okay, so you're wondering when this is going to come into practice and when we're going to start seeing this. Is that right? And you go, yeah. That's the rephrase. And the relate would be, oh, I understand why you are asking this because you've got a lot on your plate and you're
Yeah.
anticipating the change, aren't you? You're kind of like me in this, aren't you? And you go, yeah. I'm like, okay, I get it. I get where you're coming from. So the answer is, right? And it can be very subtle. It's got to be genuine. You're listening with the heart and then repeating, rephrasing, or relating what has really activated your heart. And it does wonders in making people feel heard and getting you into that space of collaboration because it forces you to listen right up until the end because you're focused on what am I going to repeat or rephrase or relate.
I love this. I worked for Dale Carnegie for many, many years, and one of the main tools that always worked for me in remembering someone's name was to actually say their name. And that is an example of repeat, rephrase, relate. It's actually a repeat, exactly. And it's what makes it stick for me every single time. Because you're right, you have to listen, you have to let them finish. And then you're going to ponder what they've said in some kind of way and decide. And what I love about it too is that I've got these three choices. And I'm going to decide which one should I use right now? What might make the most sense depending on the situation, the person, the timing, whatever it may be. That is a very powerful tool. Do you have a name for it, or is it just the three words?
I call it the on-ramping tool because
You've had that.
it is like an on-ramp for your idea. So you think about a meeting and all these ideas are competing. The meeting is like a highway, right? And the ideas are all like cars. So they're just getting onto this highway and they're not going at enough speed yet. So the on-ramp, what it does is it allows your idea to weave into the conversation. It's your on-ramp. So by showing listening, you're getting up to speed with the conversation. You're becoming in real time. The meeting is becoming present. Meetings are very past tense because you've got a queue of people waiting to talk and they're all polishing their idea, right? So what it does is it brings your idea right up into real time. It relates it to what we just heard, and it's this on ramp for your idea.
It's helping you to relate to them so much. So obviously the word is there. Brene Brown talks about we're lacking in connection today, and that the secret to that is to create moments where people are seen and heard and valued. And boy, what an excellent tool to make that very thing happen. We're looking and we're seeking human connection. What better way than to relate, rephrase?
Repeat, rephrase, relate.
I love all of them. I'm thinking through every single one of them. It's incredible.
Well, I encourage people to try it, and we try to give out something for free on our LinkedIn every week. So this tool, there's little infographics around it, and each stage of repeat, rephrase, relate is decoded on my LinkedIn. So we're always trying to give something, try this out, think about this, here's an exercise that you can do. And this, I always say, is our most powerful one. It's so simple, but it really changes the way that people feel when they're speaking to each other.
100%. Where can people learn more about you, Dan, and the work you do, and how can they connect with you?
You can check out our website, improvforworkandwellness.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn, Improv for Work and Wellness. Or you can connect with me on LinkedIn too, Dan Dumsha.
I love that. We'll be sure to put all of that in the show notes. Make sure that the world continues to connect with you. And I can't thank you enough for being here today and sharing all this wisdom and how you bring and have brought your artistry and your just wonderful personality into the world and all the amazing work you're doing. It's wonderful, and it's an honor to have spoken with you today.
Well, I love the work that you're doing in empowering artists and in connecting artists to share their value. And when I heard about it, I was happy to come on and join today. So it's been mutually beneficial. Thank you.
That's your spark. Now go light something up. And hey, if this episode lit you up, share it with a friend, a fellow facilitator, or someone who needs a little more connection in their day. Be sure to follow the Spark Connect so you don't miss what's next. We've got more brilliant voices, bold ideas, and heart-forward conversations coming your way. Until then, stay curious, stay brave, and keep showing up.